This series of videos is intended to provide the sport of obedience with a clear explanation of the individual obedience exercises, procedures, and scoring. It is not intended to be the only resource, and participants in the sport are encouraged to attend judges' seminars and above all read the regulations. This is not an AKC product. It is based on the obedience regulations and shares the interpretations of many AKC judges. KPS takes full responsibility for its content. In order to understand the regulations, they must be studied. While the regulations are not particularly entertaining, they provide much of the information that it takes to be successful in the sport. Reading the regulations may not answer all of your questions, so we recommend handlers watch this video and attend any judges' panel discussion or regulations seminars that may be available to the handler. AKC Judges Education webinars and videos are an excellent resource as well. In this video, we will be discussing the Novice Heel-Free exercise. This is a foundational exercise and is referenced multiple times throughout all classes in obedience. This exercise is essentially performed the same way as the heel on leash exercise with a few notable exceptions. For example, unlike the heel on leash exercise, the hand position is specified in the heel-free exercise. The right hand is to hang naturally at the handler's side, and the left hand is to be carried either the same way, or it can be carried across the body with the hand centered in the midriff area, and the forearm against the front of the body. Carrying the arms in any other fashion is scoreable. The principal feature of this exercise is the ability of the dog and handler to work as a team. The principal features are the minimum standard elements that must be accomplished in order for the dog and handler to be considered successful in any exercise. In the regulations, Section 3 tells us that the maximum score for the heel-free exercise is 40 points. The team must retain at least 20.5 points to qualify in this exercise. As a note, when the regulations say that you must or shall do something, they mean that failure to do that thing will be penalized. Likewise, if the regulations read that you must not do something, it means that taking that action will result in a penalty. Details on penalties can be found in our video entitled Introduction to Obedience. The heel-free exercise follows the stand for exam exercise in both Novice A and Novice B. To begin this exercise, the handler will direct their dog to follow them to the place identified by the judge. This is typically the same place the heel on leash exercise began. If the judge has provided a mark at the start of the exercise, the handler should set up behind the mark. The handler may gently guide the dog by the collar to the desired place. The handler should not restrain the dog in order to keep it in place, and no corrections are allowed. We will watch the entire exercise, then we'll break it down into its parts.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Forward.
When heel.
Left turn. Fast. Normal. Left turn. Halt. Forward.
When heel.
About turn. Right turn. Slow. Normal. About turn. Halt. Exercise finished.
Now back to the start of the exercise. The sit in the initial setup is not scored, so once the dog is seated, the requirements have been fulfilled. A delay in getting the dog to sit because of numerous commands, physical handling, or pleading may be scored as a miscellaneous penalty. The judge will in all cases ask the handler if they are ready. If the handler is ready, they should respond with yes. Saying ready or I am or nodding the head are equally acceptable. If the handler is not ready, the response should be no. The handler should then resolve whatever problem they are having and either wait for the judge's question again or indicate that they're ready. The judge's orders for this exercise are forward, left turn, right turn, halt, fast, slow, normal, and about turn. The judge will standardize the heeling pattern for all handlers. The pattern should replicate the heel on leash exercise. The first order will be forward. The handler will respond by signaling or commanding the dog to heel and moving forward at a brisk pace. As was mentioned, the position of the hands and arm are specified in the heel-free exercise. The handler may give a command or signal to begin, but not both. For this reason, if the handler intends to hold their hand across their midriff, it should be there prior to beginning, as the movement from the natural position and a command to heel would constitute an additional command. At the conclusion of the exercise and before beginning each exercise, the handler may encourage or pet the dog as they wish. Notice how the dog adapts to the handler's speed and movements. It is the dog's responsibility to do so, not the handler's. Adapting to the dog is scoreable. An example of this is when at the halt the handler steps into the dog to correct the distance between the two. At the beginning of the exercise and after each halt, the handler may give a command or signal to the dog to heel forward. The handler will then move forward at a brisk pace until the next order is given. The handler should not anticipate the orders from the judge. Although discussed on other modules of this series, a brief note on heel position is warranted. Heel position is defined in the regulations, whether sitting, standing, or moving, as the dog at the handler's left side, straight in line with the direction the handler is facing. The area between the end of the dog's head and the top of the dog's withers or front shoulders is to be in line with the handler's left hip. The dog should be close to, but not contacting the handler. When moving, the dog should maintain adequate space so that the handler has freedom of motion at all times. Common errors occurring during this exercise are lagging, forging, poor sits, crowding, lack of pace change in the fast or the slow, or failure to return to the same pace as before the fast or slow. Lagging occurs when the dog follows out of heel position towards the rear of the handler. Forging occurs when the dog moves forward out of heel position beyond the front of the handler. Crowding occurs when either the dog or the handler interferes with the other's locomotion. An example is the dog moving in front of the handler in such a way that the handler must alter his or her speed or direction in order to adapt. A dog that alternates between the extreme front of heel position to the extreme rear of heel position may be scored as an inconsistency in heeling. Other inconsistencies in heeling would include jumping on the handler, weaving wide and close to the handler, sniffing, going wide in turns, and crabbing. Crabbing occurs when the dog's rear and front legs track separately, with the rear end out of the straight line. Another inconsistency is herding behavior. A dog may use certain herding behaviors, such as nipping at the heels or feet of the handler. This is inappropriate and will be scored. In correct heeling, the dog should be close to, but not crowding the handler. Turns are to be tight, but not military in fashion. The judge will order the turn, and the handler must respond promptly. The handler is allowed to take a couple of steps in order to turn cleanly. Lack of a prompt response may be penalized. All about turns will be right about turns. Turns and halts may only be ordered during a normal pace. At each order to halt, the handler will stop and the dog will sit promptly in heel position without command or signal. The dog will not move until commanded to do so. The judge will say exercise finished when the heeling pattern ends. Any additional commands or signals during the heeling exercise should be avoided. Any non-prescribed movement of the hands or body may be considered a signal. Handlers should be cautious not to appear to be giving additional signals through their body language. This would include looking back at their dog to see if it is following. Handlers should avoid slowing down to accommodate a lagging dog, since accommodation is scoreable. When the judge orders a fast pace, the handler must run. The handler and the dog must move forward at a noticeably accelerated pace. If the handler has a medical condition that prevents them from running, they should inform the judge. If this condition is other than temporary, they can acquire an exception from AKC. This exception is in written form so that it may be shown to the judge before beginning. When the judge orders slow, the team must slow down noticeably. Following the fast or the slow, and on the judge's order, the handler and the dog must return to their pace before the change. In controlling the dog, loud or harsh commands are not allowed or necessary. Dogs have excellent hearing, and loud or harsh commands are discouraged and scoreable. Additional commands are scoreable to the point of non-qualifying, as is training in the ring. A dog having non-qualified does not constitute an opportunity to train in the ring. Training in the ring can result in a team being released from the ring. Details on penalties can be found in our video, Introduction to AKC Obedience. There is a link to this video in the comments below. This concludes our discussion of the heel-free exercise. We hope that it has provided information that you will find useful in you and your dog's participation in the sport of obedience. Thank you for watching.